you've lived a very interesting, varied life. What would you say are the sort of key highlights and sort of things that you feel you could have done better? You know, the highs and lows.
No,
in your
I
life.
think firstly, I will say that, like everyone else, I was mindful about aging. I was mindful that we should plan for post-retirement, but I never did anything about it. I won't dare to say I'm a spiritual person, but I am a prayerful person because I know of my own incompetence, so I pray a lot that the Almighty God takes mercy on me and guide me. Now, what's the evidence of all that? On 30th of June 2005, I retired as a professional accountant. And because I did everything quite late in life, at that stage I still have 2 young children that had to be ferried to schools. So for 12 days, I have nothing on my agenda. I retired with nothing on my agenda. For 12 days, I was ferrying one of the kids to school. Then later on, I can pick them from school, come back, read newspaper, feeling really bored with myself. And it's a horrible feeling of being a retiree with no agenda, other than to ferry your children to and from school. Thank God, on the 12th day, I had a phone call by Minister Khaw Boon Wan. Of course, that was the NKF saga. And while I empathized and felt that someone needed to do it, but on the individual basis, I didn't hesitate saying yes because I can get back into action, even though I didn't know what to do about it. And I spent a decade there. I struggled with understanding the difference between hemodialysis and peritoneal dialysis. These were strange words for me. I spent my whole life as an accountant and auditor and never encountered these words. But that prepared me then for the next stage where unknowingly, by the hidden hands of God, I ended up in healthcare, because after that I went on to chair Changi General Hospital and learn even more medical terms, and things. And before I knew it, I was in MOH Holdings and AIC, and it just continued. But it wasn't through a deliberate planning. I remain a Catholic, but not a great one, as I said. But I dare to claim I'm prayerful, but prayerful because I know my limitations, and I know on my own I probably fail in everything. So I always pray for guidance, and I think I'm able to do the things that I've done mainly because of prayers. So I always share with people when I walked into NKF that first day, I had no idea what I was going to do. And what I did was ask to be left alone in my room for a while to quieten down. And I was alone in my room for 1 hour. So when people ask, so what do you do for the 1 hour? I said I prayed like hell for the 1 hour. And it was only after that I had the courage to walk out of the room and ask to be shown around.
You've become a kind of a Mr. Fix-It for many things, right? NKF, ministerial, salaries. How do you think you wound up in this position?
Well, I have to use the word I blame it on God. And it's stressful. So when I was doing NKM, ministerial salary, all that made me a very prayerful person. I really prayed that I don't make any serious mistake, that I'll be guided through the whole process. So in my prayers I always say, God, you put me in this minefield, please lead me through it safely.
Okay, so the divine hand is one thing, but you also need to have the practical wits about you to navigate these things, right? So how was it experience that helped you, or were these like totally new learnings, new things that you had to discover?
Definitely it was new learnings, because I never did handle anyone who needed dialysis. As I said, I couldn't even spell hemodialysis or peritoneal dialysis or know the real difference. So divine guidance plays a very important part, but not to discount that over 40 years as an auditor. And I always tell people, your first job, if you're qualified as an accountant, be an auditor and volunteer for as many different types of audit as your firm is willing to place you on. So in the process of 40 years, having audited hotels, tech industries, from the early days where they were manufacturing black and white TVs, to stereo sets, to PCB, audited restaurants. I think it's that sum total of experience in tackling different types of industries, looking at things differently. I even remember auditing a company that produced miniature ball bearings, very tiny little ball bearings that were very essential for parts of the wings of a plane, maintaining the balance, you know. And your exposure to different things itself somehow builds up that ability to think and connect different things. I'm very blessed in the sense that although they're all different industries, that I have this knack of interconnecting the knowledge of different industries. I think that is my greatest strength and my blessings. So I'm more of a systems thinker than a design thinker. So I always laugh at people who are solely a design thinker. I say it's like flood elevation. You solve the flood in one part of Bukit Timah, then only discover its surface in another part of Bukit Timah. But a systems thinking will say, okay, if I do that, what are the consequences? And then you follow through the whole flow, you know. So same thing, the work I do now, I always ask, okay, this is a solution, but what other possible impact could it be? And make sure your solution doesn't cause new problems.
Do you think we tend to think in terms of the design thinking as opposed to the systematic
My
thinking?
senses are we tend to jump into a problem and then drill into it and try and solve the problem, and then quickly release it as a solution without thinking through, does it cause new problems or not? Or who are the people who would not be able to cope with these solutions and things like that. I think the important thing is to connect the dots. So same thing, you know, we are moving more and more into it. So while government has been very supportive in the building of more active aging centers, they're also very mindful that 400 meters may sound close, but will be a challenge to many seniors. So they're really working hard, especially with all the advisors and PA, to open up the RC centers to make it close, even closer to people. 30 years down the road, it may not have occurred that, okay, all I need to do is to set up AACs. The early days, it was FSCs and so forth. But it wasn't so evident that, well, there were many FSCs, but it is not really that close to the people who need the services. So I think we're moving more and more into systems thinking now.